We'll talk some Raptors here. Um, a tough loss last night to the Knicks. They will get there. But it seems like the NBA playoff picture in the Eastern Conference is starting to solidify. The Bulls have 2-game lead over the Raps with that loss to the Knicks last night. And it just feels like they're running out of time to really catch up. Uh, of course, Gary Trent Jr., awesome, had a career high 44 points against the Cavaliers on Saturday night, and the Raps score a franchise record 87 points in the first half. Just ridiculous. They like couldn't miss. And Gary Trent himself went 17 for 19 from the field in the game, which is, and like a lot of those shots were difficult, hand in the face, step backs, like tough shots that he just was making, which is like awesome to see because it really shows you the ceiling that he has as a player. Like Raptors fans cannot get enough of this guy already. Um, we love Norm, but Gary Trent just, it seems like he has an even greater degree of difficulty shot making ability. Lots of Knicks fans last night were getting frustrated when he was making some big shots down the stretch, and some great defense played by the Knicks. They're really, really aggressive late in those games, like really smothering physical defense, which will be interesting come playoff time. And Trent was able to make quite a few tough shots. And Malachi Flynn has really been playing well these last couple of games. His defense primarily, he's got really active hands, like I was saying, similar for Van Vliet. He gets in those lanes and knocks balls loose, and he had 20 points and 11 assists against the Cavaliers on Saturday, and less than that last night against the Knicks, but is a kid who's still getting his reps. Kyle Lowry is finally back, so a little bit of pressure taken off of him, but he really, in this fourth quarter yesterday, led the team. And that's kind of where I want to start in this Knicks game is the beginning of the fourth quarter. The Raptors bench uh, had scored 14 points in that fourth quarter and were beating the Knicks starters. And finally, the Knicks had to take a timeout, but like Watanabe hit a three, Malachi hit two big shots, and kicked it out to Rodney Hood for a 3-pointer. It was just great work and kind of a mishmash of guys who hadn't necessarily played together. You had Hood coming from the Blazers trade, Malachi Flynn coming from the G League, hadn't played a ton with the Raps. Freddie Gillespie, who's on a 10-day contract, who's been showing some great energy for the Raptors and some good screen setting. And then, of course, the newly added Kem Birch, who came in last night and started with a bricked baby hook and some bricked free throws, but in the end got his rhythm a little bit. Him and Kyle developed a little bit of chemistry. He had a layup on the roll and the pick and roll. He's a guy who plays solid defense, and it doesn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, but he knows when to help, and he can definitely be someone who dissuades opponents around the rim. And so already you see like Aaron Baines didn't play at all last night. Nick Nurse already loving what he's seeing from Kem Birch, which means we're going to see a lot more of him going forward. Should be interesting to see. I wonder if that means Freddie Gillespie stays, if Kem Birch provides a lot of the same thing that he provides. Even though I love the energy Gillespie was giving, it just seems like he has zero offensive production unless he's getting the ball right at the rim. And then after all this excitement about the bench, and a lot of people were all like, this is the bench that we've been waiting for. This is Raptors basketball. Starters kind of come back in. The Knicks turn up the defensive intensity, and the Raps kind of let things go down the end. And last possession, they're down two. Kyle Lowry gets a great read on the pass out of the double team, steals the ball, gives it to Pascal, who's the guy you want to have it in transition. Pascal double dribbles because he hesitates. He thought he was going to pass to the corner, so he touches it, but then he dribbled and went for the layup. Just really tough one for Pascal. Feels like he sold that game. He was 5 of 18 from the field. Really, really struggled all night against Julius Randle. And just, you can see this whole season has just been taxing for him. You were hoping he'd get a fresh start after the rough playoffs he had, but just it's continued to compound for him. And really, like, the Raptors need to get out of this season, avoid any major injuries, and really just get a reset, especially for Pascal. And Uh, we'll see what he can come back with next year, but because he's such a huge part of this team and he still can play solid defense. He had some great defensive moments last night. He also had some terrible defensive moments last night, giving up a backdoor cut to Randall with like a minute and a half left for a dunk, and leaving RJ Barrett for kind of the dagger 3-pointer late in the game. So yeah, it's things show up a lot more when you're losing. And Pascal, I don't know what it needs to be, but he needs to figure things out because right now it's been really tough for him. And I don't know where the Raptors go from here. They're still only 2 games out of that 10th seed. It's still very attainable, but they're running out of time. And this Bulls team, in theory, has a higher ceiling now with the Vucevic trade. So what are you chasing at this point? The opportunity to run into this Knicks team, and even if you get through them, just to get slapped by the Brooklyn Nets, like, yeah, I don't see what the end is for the Raps. Just look for getting these guys more looks, get Kem Birch more looks. Maybe he re-signs in the offseason. Get Bembry more looks because he's been playing well for them recently. Get Malachi more looks so he can improve, and maybe take the minutes off your core a little bit because they play a ton of minutes all the time. Fred, Kyle consistently lead the league in minutes. OG and Pascal are up there too. So let's turn it down a little bit, let them ride it out, see what happens in the draft, and come back next year fresh at home in Toronto.